doing so much sewing this year because of all of the virtual classes that I've been teaching, and it's kind of been amazing to get back into it. It's also been a little bit overwhelming, if I'm gonna be honest. I have got so many unfinished garment projects because I get most of the way through the project and then I gotta start the next one. And so I am trying to make sure that I spend time every week finishing off at least one, or I'm trying to finish off at least one of them. I'm excited because last night I was able to finish my latest Esme cardigan. I don't really remember where I got this fabric, which is very unusual for me. I think it might be from Sultan's. It's possible that it's from New York. I'm unsure. It's got like it's almost like upholstery fabric. It's got a really interesting texture to it, and it's blue and white and light blue and navy. And I have been enjoying this particular class because we've gone a little bit off book with it, which is really fun. So one of the things that I love about sewing with other people is there's a little bit of collaboration. And so in one of the recent classes, we had a bunch of students wanting to try some different things with their Esme cardigan. So this particular pattern was actually designed for knit fabric, and mostly in this class we actually have been making this pattern with woven fabrics, and in particular quite a few jacquard versions using the Merchant & Mills jacquard, because I made one many years ago that I have worn to shreds, and then I wanted to make another one, and lots of other folks have made them too. Some of the folks in class wanted to make their version with a lining, and I said, of course, we can totally do that. And some folks in class wanted to do a binding, and I said, of course, we can definitely do that. These are things I never would have thought to do personally, but I love trying something new, and my whole thing is iterating on a particular pattern, and I have made this pattern several times already, so I love exploring some different ways to make this pattern. So I have loved exploring the use of doing a binding on the inside, because I didn't personally really want to do a lining, especially for the jacquard. It's already bulky enough. I didn't really want to add any more weight, but I love the idea of trying out doing a binding, which I've never done on a garment in this particular way. And hot take, don't come at me, I have done it in a way that maybe is not correct at all. But I can be a little bit particular about some aspects of sewing. I mean, you might already be able to tell, but I really, really like things to be sewn well. I don't like things to not come together properly. And so one of the things that leads me to do is I like to pre-finish my fabric. So once I cut a garment out, I'm going to take it to my serger, and I'm going to pre-finish all of those pieces ahead of time so that every edge is really beautifully finished. Not a lot of people do that, or some people don't do that. And a lot of patterns will guide you through doing that finishing step during the process. So as you sew something, you're then going to finish something, and honestly, I just don't like the way that looks. I don't want to serge my seams together. I also don't want to have to kind of maneuver weird angles. Flat fabric is so much easier to handle this way. So the first time that I did the binding on the Esme cardigan, I had sewn the garment together and then had gone in to do this bias binding on the seamed after. Well, I ran into a bunch of different things that really bothered me. Number one, just again, not being able to get in and apply it as nicely as I wanted to, because all of the seams and all of the fabric was in the way. And so I did something that maybe is totally incorrect, and I took the garment almost fully apart. So I just couldn't figure out why you need to put the garment together in order to put the binding on. I thought, what if I pre-bind the fabric and then sew it together? is that so wrong? I tried to find out if it was wrong. I looked it up, I didn't see anything. I could see what could go wrong with that. You could distort and stretch the fabric. That's definitely something that could happen, but I did it anyways. So the first time that I did this on my Viridian Green Jacquard Esme, I had mostly sewn the garment together. I took apart some of the seams, put the binding on, and then put the seams back together. This one, I just flat out cut my pieces out and started putting the binding. So I don't know that it's correct, but it worked, and I'm not mad about it. So my seams are beautifully finished. I did a Hong Kong finish on the inside, and I really love how well done they are because the fabric was flat and it was so easy to put that binding on, and it looks even and it looks pretty. And I used a Liberty of London Tana, which called Mirabelle, and so I just really love that. So this particular Esme cardigan is a little bit different than some of the previous versions that I've made. Normally when I make this particular pattern, I usually chop off about 10 inches. This is a pattern that originally is meant to be quite long, and I've never made it to the length of the pattern. I've always chopped off about 10 inches. And this one I wanted to make it a little bit shorter than that. So I don't off the top of my head remember exactly how many more inches, but I feel like I took off maybe 12 to 14 inches. I'll take a look and see if I can find it in my notes or check the pattern, but it's a little bit shorter, you know, giving a little bit of room for the pocket bag, but definitely not full length. So I don't know, what do you think? Would you think it's totally wrong of me to do the binding before the garment? Do you think that the sewing police are going to come after me? Let me know what you think. Do you think it's brilliant, or do you think it's really dumb? I would be curious to know. Anyways, the Esme cardigan is definitely a favorite. A couple other little points about this pattern. I did, I think maybe even for the first time, the cuffs exactly the way that they're written in the pattern. Sometimes I don't add cuffs, sometimes I've done my own version of a cuff, and so this time I actually did the exact version that they have in the pattern. So it's kind of, it rolls up a little bit, and the length is probably a little bit short, but I don't really mind that. I think it's quite nice, and so I don't mind that it's a little bit shorter. I do have longer arms, so definitely that is something that you could extend, and I always talk about that in class if you want to do a version that is a little bit more custom. Length of both the sleeves and also the on this particular pattern. So overall, this is probably my sixth Esme cardigan. So let me know if you want to see my other versions. I would love to show you this pattern many ways. See you in the next one.